Hello and welcome to a pregame edition of Beyond the Big Ten, brought to you by Carmen's Crew and the Nittany Gritty. I am Jon Sauber, Penn State men's basketball writer for the Center Daily Times. I am joined by Penn State men's basketball legend Tim Frazier, Ohio State men's basketball legend Evan Turner, and Adam Jardy of the Columbus Dispatch. And fellas, we got a game here Saturday night. To bring us a little bit of context on how this bad boy's gone in the past, let's hear from Adam a little bit on how these matchups have been.
Well, first of all, it's really cool to be with you guys. This is a heck of a group to be a part of. I appreciate you having me. This is a matchup that Ohio State has historically dominated, but Penn State started to get a little bit of the upper hand the last couple of years. In my 9 years now on the beat, I've actually seen Penn State win a couple at home against Ohio State. The Buckeyes are 4-3 in their last 7 trips to the Bryce Jordan Center, which isn't necessarily known as a really difficult place to play most of the time, but Ohio State's had a fair amount of trouble there these last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out, if Ohio State can play to its level and if Penn State can rise up and play like it did to start the season.
Well, and you mentioned your 9 years. Before those 9 years, too, though, these two faced off in some matchups, and I know UT has something to say about it.
Yeah, I love State College. I love the Bryce Jordan Center. I feel like it was like a home court advantage every time we went. Tim Frazier, Taylor Battle, they were gracious enough to go their whole 4 years without beating us. And that's why Tim and Taylor and I are so tight today, because they sacrificed those wins for the legacy of Ohio State. And, the bigger picture, disposition is something we always appreciate. So thank you, Tim.
You're welcome, but definitely that wasn't given up as a gift to you. But there's always been good matchups. I think that yes, Ohio State has dominated over the years as far as if we look far back. But again, you're only as good as your last win. It's your last game, and then the last game, I believe, Penn State is up. If I'm right, Adam, I'm not sure. But I will say this too, I told you guys off camera, man. Sometimes we're able to, right now we're struggling. But sometimes we're able to sneak in games because State College is State College. It's going to be tough to fly in there. It's going to be quiet. It's going to be, it's almost finals week. So the campus is not buzzing as much. And we sneak teams because, again, it's not the game that Ohio State is looking up to. They're not playing Michigan, where the rivalry is there. So they're coming to Penn State, and they might overlook us. And I give us a shot because we lost 5 games in a row, but I think it's time for, all it takes is one win to be able to switch that over. And, I got faith in our guys. Again, it's a home game. You have to sleep in your own bed, come out and be able to compete the way you want to compete, and leave it all out there.
No, Tim, I do agree with you in that sense of what Adam brought up as well. I think sometimes teams kind of have familiarity. And when I talked to Tatum the other day, it's he'll worry more so about a weak Heat team that he will a loaded 76ers team. He's just for whatever reason, the familiarity, they somewhat have our number. It's like when you play a video game or anything, you comprehend the board you come across, it's going to be an easy challenge. Not an easy challenge to get you warmed up, and you're no, we can climb this mountain. And I think Penn State has had so much success recently in that sense where it's always going to be a game where we might come in an underdog, and rightfully so, especially at the Bryce Jordan Center.
Right.
Well, yeah, and Tim mentioned that Penn State kind of this isn't their best year. They also have their backs against the wall right now, right? This is going to be a desperate team too. Tim and I talked about before the Maryland game that they didn't have that advantage because Maryland was pretty desperate too. Well, now Ohio State, the hope for Penn State has to be that they come in and either sleepwalk in or they're just not ready for this matchup, because right now Penn State, Tim mentioned 5 losses in a row. I keep harping on that loss to Bucknell, but they lost to Bucknell in that already 0-1 in the Big Ten. This has not been a team that's been playing well, and they desperately need to get this one.
I would say, too, Adam, who do you guys play next? Who does Ohio State play next? Because that also plays a part.
They're off for a week, and then they play UCLA in Atlanta in the CBS Sports Classic.
Oh, I don't like either of that. Off for a
right. So
UCLA in Atlanta.
And again, you as a team, you're looking okay, we got this we're 1-0 on the Big Ten. Speaking about Ohio State, we got Penn State at Penn State, a game we should win, and then we have a big game against UCLA. I'm sure it's on TV, national TV, a big game. So that's all more of a reason where this game can become a sleeper game that Penn State can go get. And like John said before, it's desperation time. Like we said, it was desperation time the last game, but now it's even more desperate until you be able to get that win. And a battle's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Obviously, John and I are gonna root for our side, and you guys are gonna root for your side. But it'll be fun to watch Saturday night.
Yeah,
Or go, Adam. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, the thought of like overlooking a team, I am very interested to see how Ohio State comes out and approaches this game, because you talk to like Bruce Thornton and Roddy Gale, and you talk to Zed Key and the guys who were on that team last year that went 16-19 and 5-15 in the Big Ten. And I wonder if they have it in them to overlook a team, because they got beat on so hard last year that, they remember that stuff. They've talked a lot about sort of the scar tissue from last year. And I'm interested to see, does that mean that this team, I don't want to say they're incapable of overlooking a team, but how does that, change the approach for a game that on paper you're projected to win? Does that mean they come in with the right mindset because they don't want to go through what they went through last year? I think that could come into play here.
Well, when you mention that mindset, like that's been an issue at Penn State, right? Like that's been like Tim and I talked about this a lot too. They don't have that energy guy right now. They don't have the guy to kind of bring it all together when it's not going well. We saw that at the end of the Maryland game. They just, Ace Baldwin played relatively well. Qudus Wahab fouls out early. It's not great. Backup big Demetrius Lilly falls out early. It's not great. Or fouls out early. It's not great. Those guys that you need to produce, the Kanye Clarys, the Puff Johnsons, they're just not bringing that intensity with them, right? Like even if they're playing well, it's just they're not the energy guys. And those guys don't exist on this team right now. As Mike Rhodes said in a press conference, unless they're playing well. And so if they don't get off to a good start in this game, you mentioned that Ohio State mentality of not wanting to be like to get bullied essentially like they did last year. If they come in with that mentality, this could get ugly, right? Like Penn State has to show something early on in this game. I think the first 10 to 15 minutes might decide how this one goes.
Yeah, I think one thing that kind of bothers me in that sense as well, and this is one game into the Big Ten. I hope the Penn State dudes and even Ohio State dudes are like, bro, this is a wide open field. We can suck. We could be terrible in non-conference. We could be terrible in practice or whatever. But our best opportunity is now. The next best is we start off 0-0. Now the best one is we're 0-1. There's so much you can do with that. Back in 2010 when we won the title, we started off 1-3. Remember that, Adam?
Yeah.
And it's when you sit there, it's I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just hope they hear this to be yo, you're still 0-1. You can do so much with that. There's 19 more games. You know what I mean? There's no need to creep up. It's just go out and throw your right hook and hope it lands. But I'm saying the same thing with with Ohio State guys. The NIL donor, no, you should not be overlooking anything. I still want a little bit more money's worth. So I think they should win 20 more straight games and so on and so forth. But I just like the team. I think we really have the best backcourt in the Big Ten. I think Bruce Thornton is playing at Jalen Brunson-esque level from college where he's getting 29 points. He's barely turned the ball over. He's leading. He's confident, and the game is really going at his pace. And Roddy Gale is bouncing up at a high level too, where he's playing, where he might be one of the best guards in the Big Ten as well. So I think anytime the guard plays at a high level, Tim, it's going to be a long night for any team.
Yeah. And that's and a big thing, like you said, with the guard play, that's going to be huge for us because when you look at our team in Penn State, it's the two guards. It's Ace Baldwin and it's Kanye Clary. And those two guys are going to have to have phenomenal games tomorrow on both ends of the court because, like you said, they're going to have the guards on the other side. So that's going to be the big challenge. And again, we talk about it when we talk about being in state college, whatever, and underdog teams. And I'm sure, right now, Penn State is, if they're not already up. Now we talk about playing Ohio State in our first home game in the Big Ten. It's even more juice, more reason to be ready to go out there and knock it off. And like you said, Evan, I spoke about it last week. All it takes is for one win to turn into two, to turn into three, and keep it rolling. You remember the year we went to the tournament in 2011. We had to win those 3-4 games in the tournament and the Big Ten tournament to even make it. And we went on a streak those last couple games to really set us off. So the snowball is rolling downward for Penn State right now, but at the end of the day, it can easily turn around. And like you said, the guys at Ohio State need to be looking at it the same way. Hey, we're 1-0. Hey, we need to make this 2-0 and don't look past the game they had.
Fellas, yeah, I got to run to Ohio State interviews here, so I got to peace out. But I'm excited to hear the rest of this as I'm driving to State College here later tonight. Appreciate you guys having me.
Man, safe drive, man. Safe drive.
Looking forward to seeing you, Adam.
Yo, give him hell, Adam.
I always do.
But no, I think this is to what Tim said. Like this is going to be about the guard play, right? Like this is all about that for Penn State. Those guys, Ace Baldwin, Kanye Clary, got to show up. They gotta bring something. I know I keep going back to like bringing some juice, but you can't go into a matchup against Ohio State and not feel it early on, because if you're going in and you miss a few shots and suddenly you're not defending well, like this Penn State team was supposed to be better defensively, right? They were supposed to be a really good defensive team under Mike Rhodes. They're supposed to press, wreak havoc like Rhodes did at VCU, like he learned under when he was an assistant under Shaka Smart. Like this was supposed to be that kind of defense, and if your guards aren't leading the way on that press, then what are you doing at this point? You know, like this is kind of end game.
Yeah, that's right. I'm also listening to Puff Johnson as well. I know he just got there, and not in his leadership, but tell me, just being a recruit and stuff, there's a certain type of level when you go to a blue blood. And, like, not even a sense of, like, oh, you're supposed to be the best of the best, but technically you are, but, like, it's just a different level of what you learn there. And I want to see Puff Johnson kind of step up and, like, lead more. He's seen championship experience. He's been part of great teams. He's been around great tradition. Like, that stuff doesn't just wear off. You take that with you. That's a real lesson learned. And I think he has to really step up in order to bring that culture as well as one of the older guys, Well,
and that's what's interesting too, right? After that Bucknell loss, we only spoke to one player, and it was Puff, right? Like he was the voice of the team after that, and had to speak for essentially the worst loss in program history, right? And he's shown that leadership side. It's just, I think all of these guys have the same issue of once it starts to go downhill on the court, like all of that kind of fades a little bit, right? And you guys have played a lot of basketball in your day, right? Like you've seen, I'm sure you've had teammates where once they weren't hitting their shots, they weren't playing at the same level anymore. And it can impact your teammates, right? Like once you see the leaders' shoulders get slumped, everyone's shoulders can get slumped, and it can all go downhill really quickly. But yeah, this is an Ohio State team that Penn State should not mess with, right? If they don't come out with energy, they don't come out with juice, they're gonna be down 15-0 before they can blank, right? Like they gotta be able to match that early.
Well, let's check it out. Let's look into it, man. I think we're in the best part of the season when Big Ten play comes out and starts getting going. I just love this conversation of being like, which way they're going, how should the game turn out in like these battles? It's going to be a hell of a season, and I'm excited for Old State. I'm so excited for our backcourt and just our team. I feel a good energy from around them.
I feel the same way too, Evan. I will give you guys props because the last couple of years have been a little up and down for you guys. And when we were in school, it was always Ohio State was at the top.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that they rejuvenated that and as well. And I'm looking forward to the same thing for Penn State. Obviously, we had a great run last year. We want to continue to do that, but we do have to understand that there is going to be some down period. We're talking about new coach, new player, new style of play, and I keep reiterating every time we talk, Jon, because I know that people are jumping ship, and that's like unfortunate because it's tough times right now, but tough times make strong individuals, and we want these kids to be strong individuals, go out there and give it their game, and play with the utmost energy and confidence, and that's what I feel like we should be pouring into everybody to be able to do that. Because when you look at Ohio State, you look at the guys that they're playing with utmost confidence. You look at the guys in Purdue and all these other places, these top teams in the Big Ten, everybody's playing with confidence. And right now, that's what Penn State needs. And right now, it's going to take some digging, it's going to take some clawing to get that confidence back up and be able to get a win and be able to go compete. But Saturday's going to be a special matchup. I like if a betting man would obviously go with with the odds, but man, I'm not sure. Man, I think it's hard to come to State College, especially on a weekend, especially when you got a big game coming up soon. And they probably, like Adam had said, they're going to have a couple of days off too. Now we talk about, hey, we finish this game, we have a couple of days off to do finals or whatever it may be. Like this could be a sneak game for us.
No, and after, I will hope so, bro. And I'm not saying that because I want my guys to lose, but you just hate to hear it. Like it's like the biggest loss in program history to Bucknell. It's like, damn, you lost a fight to a nerd like that. Like you understand what I'm saying? Is
yeah,
I don't mean like hearing that. So I'm like, bro, I'm rooting for my Buckeyes. I want them to win. I want them to bounce back and like make it reputable. Because I'm feeling that hit too. G. I don't like that either. It reminds me of when we lost to a D2 team my freshman year in an exhibition. They ended up winning a D2 national title, but it was just like
Right.
Yeah, D go wrong. And you still see those kids still this day, and it's like, bro, you work at CarMax. Get out my like, like it was a fluke. Like it was all luck. Like, you know what I mean? But
Listen, a win's a win.
yeah.
Every day I saw you.
Like little giant, like the little giant.
And we've seen it throughout the college basketball all season. Like every time I look on social media, I'm seeing, hey, somebody that was a team that was paid to go there is won. Like it's happening every week. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to see that. Like it shows that the level of basketball and all these in lower levels is getting better. You know what I mean? It's not just saying come in and walk all over you, or just saying that these teams are looking past that and looking towards the next games.
No doubt. I think it's going to be an interesting one on Saturday. Penn State will probably, like I said, we'll find out early if this is going to be a competitive one. It's going to be an interesting matchup nonetheless, though. 6:00 in the Bryce Jordan Center. It is not, I don't know that it's going to be a raucous atmosphere, but listen, I think sometimes that helps Penn State out, right? Like it's a little harder to play in those quieter gyms when you're used to that crowd backing you or the crowd doing anything.
Yeah. John, I always wonder, because you seem like you can get after, why don't you bring the energy? Like from the side, you do third street.
That's not my job. Listen,
You can't though,
listen.
right?
I don't.
You can't do that as part of your job, right? You can't.
Yeah, I don't get paid to be a fan. That's what like Tim was saying earlier. Like we'll be rooting for Penn State. Listen, I'm rooting for the story. That's what I'm always rooting for. Yeah. Listen, it's part of the gig, right? Like and only one. Even let's say if I could or if I even wanted to, only one person can't bring as much noise as that place needs. That's a whole other issue. That's why next week they're going to play at Madison Square Garden next Saturday against Georgia Tech. That's why they're playing a game at Rec Hall. That's why, like, I know they're trying to play in these other venues where they can get some juice, right? Because that's been a problem at the BJC. Now, like you said, Evan, I think there will be some Ohio State fans on Saturday.
That's real. But no, BJC, but we knock it, bro. BJC is also a beautiful arena. It was like, unbelievable. Ohio State and Penn State have probably the best basketball arenas in the Big Ten. It's just tough because they're actual like stadium arenas.
They have concerts. Yes, a concert.
Yeah, it's built for like concerts, and like listen, it's a great place to go see a concert. But like the noise, like if you look at the seating and everything, you go somewhere like Assembly Hall where it's like on top of you. You know what I mean? Like the rows are basically stacked up, so everyone's crammed in, and the noise is coming straight down. That's not the case at the BJC, right? Like it's all backed up. Everyone's kind of further away. It just doesn't have that same feeling of like those college basketball arenas. That's why like when they go play at the Palestra in early January, like it gets loud and it's a really good environment because it's those stands are right on top of you and you can, you know what I mean? You can feel the crowd around you. You just don't get that at the BJC.
Yeah, it's so, and that's why you gotta give snaps to the legend Tim Frazier Taylor battle. Because when we would go there, we all have that bad boy rocking, and it was not easy to fill up. Like you go to like certain spots, even Assembly Hall, and like if us three were talking, it'd be loud. But like when you go to big filled out venues like the BJC or Old State, I tell the dudes like, no, it's literally 18,000 people rocking. It wasn't that Old State banner and y'all try to manufacture energy. Like no, literally we had that whole shit rocking because we performed at that level, and I want to tip my hat too, because Tim Frazier already had that bad boy rocking, and that wasn't easy.
Yes, and I was at some of those games when I was in high school. You know, those were the days I'd make that trip over to that arena.
Yeah, Evan knows he ruined the senior night for those guys. You know, he's ruined the Big Ten championship for us. You know, he's the coach. He's giving his tip of his hat, but he's definitely ruined some big time wins for us. But
that's why I get into the sport, so we can remember moments like that. Okay?
That's right.
We love.
Let's be live.
I was telling them
podcast.
Yeah, I was telling them ET about the story. Remember, I forgot what restaurant I was in, and I sent you that picture. And I'm guarding your defense, and I think I was a freshman, and I'm guarding your defense. I think it was either in Chicago or it was in Columbus. I went to go get a pizza or something like that, and it was a picture of you on the wall with me guarding.
Oh yeah, I do remember you sending me that. That is actually fun. Is that an Applebee's, right?
Yeah, I think it was Applebee's, baby. Yeah,
Applebee's, man. I got to go get my percentage from that.
Yeah, that was before I made money.
Yeah. The biggest problem is you were at the Applebee's.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to get my dollar margaritas, man.
Listen, I was going to say there's nothing wrong with margarita. But listen, I think that's a good place to cut it. We will see how this game goes on Saturday. It's going to be, it's probably like Evan said. There's going to be some. I think it's going to be a little tighter than people think. It'll be an interesting game to watch. I am looking forward to it. I'll be there covering it. Like we said, Adam will be in State College covering it as well at the arena. So it's going to be a good time. But that's a good place to leave it. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.